I am with Albert Bramante. For those who don't know, could you give us a bit of a background about yourself and what you do?
Sure. Well, first, I just want to thank you, Kyle, for having me on. My name is Albert Bramante. I am a agent in New York. I represent actors for film, TV, theater, commercial, print, and voiceover in the New York market. And that's what I do. I mean, day to day, I find employment opportunities for my clients and in on all different mediums. So, I've been doing that for the past 21 years now.
Mhm. Awesome. You've definitely built quite a fascinating career. It intersects entertainment, psychology, and education. Can you take us back to the beginning and kind of what pulled you in this direction?
Sure. Well, I started off as an actor myself briefly. I was in front of the camera. I took some classes in college. I was in a drama club in high school. So I was kind of like, I really liked hanging out with the theater kids, is
Awesome.
what they would say.
Yeah.
Like that crew was just really more at home. And I do have a background in psychology, having a doctorate and all that. But I identified more with the acting and creative side than I do with other academics.
Hmm.
And so that was sort of something that I kind of like, noticed, as I was, coming up the ranks after ending grad school was just how much I really just like being around other actors. And so when I did the brief thing of acting myself, I really, I really enjoy working with actors and that's what I really want to do. And so that's where I kind of set it up where I'm just going to, in a sense, work with actors and so that I kind of set myself up for to doing that, to being an agent in a sense.
Mhm.
And so that, it came, a couple of years. I went from like I did some casting, I did some volunteering at film festivals, and especially in the inaugural Tribeca Film Festival, which is now, an established New York staple. When I was was just starting out when I was volunteering, to kind of just get some, experience for my own thing of just networking with some great people. And I then, said, after that, I just transitioned to becoming an agent. And so now I represent actors.
So through your company, Bramante Artists, you say you don't just book roles, you build careers. What does it actually look like? Like, what separates someone from just getting a lucky break to actually building a career in this industry?
Well, we talk about longevity. I mean, that's the
Hmm.
major thing too. Sustainability and longevity, rather than just a single role.
Yeah.
Now, a single role is great. However, the whole thing is about how do we develop longevity
Hmm.
in a sense. So that's what I'm kind of all about, even as an agent and my years of doing this. For me, longevity is more important than specifically role to role. Now, role to role is extremely important, and so is that getting that big break. But it's all about longevity, and that's the key to if you want to work in this business. It's important to have a longevity mindset because it's not going to be an overnight success. And you often will hear, oh, so and so got that big break, or so and so became an overnight success. Great, but you don't know that it took 10, 15, 20 years in the making of really hustling and working hard to get to that big break.
So, how does your background as a psychology professor feed into the way that you coach and guide performers in such a high pressure industry?
Well, I think just understanding, the
Hmm.
systems. One of the things that I did for my PhD, my specialization, my dissertation was on self-defeating behavior and performing artists. Because the one thing I noticed when I was first starting, when I first opened the doors to my company, the one thing I noticed was there was a high degree of self-sabotage amongst actors.
Hmm.
And so that was something that I kept seeing over and over again was just a high degree of self-sabotage happening.
So, what do you feel changes that into a fuller career or something that can be a bit more long term?
What as far as long term, again, the idea is longevity is
Mhm.
not the quick fix. And I think sometimes young actors, especially, they'll see they kind of get mesmerized again by the lights of New York, the Hollywood sign, and
Mhm.
Broadway, and it's like I need to be there, which is great, and that's not. I don't dismiss those goals. I think they're important goals, but there's so many steps in between that, and it could take years to happen. And I think a lot of times, a lot of actors are not used to that, or not ready for that, or not prepared for that. To be able to say, "Hey, this is going to be a long-term process."
Yeah. Imposter syndrome and, as you said, self sabotage are things a lot of creatives face. What's
hmm
one tool or even like a mindset shift that you feel works? Like, what's one thing that you could give a bit of advice to a new start?
Well, a new start is just developing like a growth mindset at focus.
Mhm.
So when we talk about growth mindset, it's kind of like just you're looking to improve your situation in a sense. That's the important thing is how can you improve and how can you adapt rather than focusing again on that on the exact outcome. So it's kind of like trust the process and the journey rather than again the final outcome. So
Yeah.
it's all about your growth as an actor rather than again whether you're going to get that big break in 6 months, a year, whatever that is. The important thing should be how are you growing as an actor?
Mhm. So obviously you use hypnosis and NLP, and obviously these can sound a bit mysterious to people who haven't heard of it. Can you give us a bit of
hmm
a layman's breakdown of what they are and how you use them to help tackle mental blocks?
Sure. Well, hypnosis and NLP is really working. These are tools that we can use to get to work with your subconscious mind. So what really is going on running the programming, like
Mm.
really going deep down inside. It's like we're using a computer. It would be like we're looking at the hardware and the software, that's running the
Yeah.
computer. And it's running your mind, going through the software of your mind and changing it and kind of improving and optimizing it. Because again, that will help you in your outward programming. So in other words, we're kind of using language, imagination to change your neurology, and that might mean change your identity. So um, a lot of times actors, for some or artists in general, have the notion that I must suffer for my art, or I must be in pain,
Mm.
or I must be deficient. And let's correct that. That's a myth. I'm not sure where that came from.
Yeah. Obviously, you've got your book. It's a brilliant title, Rise Above the Script.
hmm
What's the central message behind that? How do you hope it impacts the reader?
Well, my goal is to kind of put a voice to having a conversation just in general that self sabotage is a big thing that likely affects a lot of artists, and that comes to with the self doubt, the imposter syndrome.
Hmm.
But there's a lot of tools in there that can help you overcome that. Overcome imposter syndrome and
Yeah.
again manage your self doubt in a sense.
So, do you have any, I suppose you could say, in the moment tools? If you've got an audition or you're about to go to do something, have you got any in the moment tools you could pass on that might help someone?
Yeah. So what I often say is when you right beforehand or even the morning you're about to do that,
Hmm.
just kind of do a centering exercise like just close your eyes, take a couple deep breaths in, exhale slowly, and just imagine um, or recall a time in your life where you really felt good
Hmm.
and powerful, and let that build up. And when I often ask you to let that build up, I want you to see it, hear, like with your five senses, go back to experience that, really feel it build up. And I might even have someone build it up over and over again.
Hmm.
Let that build up, let that build up. And then now go into that room, audition room. Because what I'm doing here is building up your confidence a bit and build, kind of like developing an anchor where now you can transform that good that you just felt from that powerful experience
Hmm.
to your audition. And from a performance standpoint, performance mindset standpoint, when you can perform without, inhibitions or without being self-conscious, your performance is going to be a lot more effective and influential and rememberable because you're not in your head. And that's a lot of times with actors, especially newer actors or
Hmm.
that are just graduated. A lot of times they see in their performances, they're in their head too much. They're thinking, they're so focused on, okay, what's my next line, that they're not even paying attention to their scene partner. They're not listening to their scene partner. And that makes a big difference in the quality of the scene. A lot of times my biggest notes, especially for younger actors, is get out of your head
Yeah.
and be more organic with it. Because if you look at the performances that are memorable, they're
Hmm.
totally organic. And yeah, yes, they may have memorized the script, they may have said those lines, 200 or 300 times, even thousands of times before. Their performance, they're in the moment. They're not in their head. They're leading, and that's why we get moved by performance. That's why we get, because we're actually, it's like you take that mindset of you're making discoveries as you do it. Even though again, you may know the script inside and out
Hmm.
and all in all different ways, but the way you execute because you're listening to your scene partner in front of you and connecting with them, and that makes a big difference. That's where having that, you know, strong foundation when you go in there, that
Yeah.
confidence, that power, again, will help you connect more with the reader. And I can, and now of course there's so many factors that when it comes to why an actor book a role or not,
Hmm.
but I can guarantee you your callback rates are going to increase. When you walk in there with confidence. And that's what I hear a lot of working actors will say, the ones that are really successful. And they may not be A-list celebrities. There's a lot of actors that you might know just by seeing them. You go to,
Hmm.
like they're in a lot of plays or they're on a lot of TV shows and supporting roles. The one thing that they say when they go into that audition room, they don't look at it as an audition. They look at it like, this is my time to work. This is my time to let go and just do the work. And then another process that's helpful is letting go. As soon as the audition is over, it's really important for actors just to let it go. Don't worry, because it's out of your control.
Yeah.
You did the audition, it's over. Now your next focus should be the next one. Because there are so many factors as to why you may get the role or not that are
Hmm.
out, and they may not have nothing to do with you.
Yeah. Absolutely.
So the important thing is to let it go. And I think when you have those less expectations by going to that room,
Hmm.
it becomes less mystifying, it becomes less terrorizing, and less nerve wracking. You're just more comfortable going there and work. And you became an actor because you like to work, you like to tell stories. Well, there's your 2 minute opportunity to do that. Tell the story, do the work, leave, let it go. It's kind of like
Hmm.
leave it on the field. If you want to do sports, it's over. Yeah, and as soon as the match is over, it's over. As soon as the audition is over, it's over. And now your focus should be on building the next one. I think if you book the job, great. If not, you got the opportunity to perform. But I can guarantee you, when you have that mindset, you're more likely to make a more positive impression
Hmm.
of the people in the room, which is good. They're going to keep bringing you back. It's all, even though it's a large industry, it's all about relationships and
Yeah.
show business.
Absolutely. No, like that was brilliant. I myself recently been taking part in adult theatre. I've been a part of writing the script, and now we're getting to the point where you're auditioning for roles, finding your feet with that sort of thing. And admittedly, the thought of one auditioning actually, I guess you could say, scares me more than
Mm-hmm.
doing it to stage.
Yeah.
Um,
And the word audition is scary,
yeah,
just in
absolutely.
itself. And what if we reframed it by saying, okay, you're just going on a smaller stage.
Ooh,
That's all it is.
yeah,
Go in there. It's a stage. Do your thing and leave. Okay. Yeah, and it puts it puts less power even on the people too, because a lot of times people look at casting directors, and producers, playwrights as gods almost, as these
yeah.
powerful
Mhm.
lords, and they're not. They're everyday people. Go in, treat them like regular, be respectful, of course, but treat them like regular people, and do your work and leave. And again, what happens next is a bonus.
Yeah.
Now,
For me, obviously, you might have heard this from others. The biggest thing that I feel like I struggle with is the letting go. Like, for instance, we're doing it's a horror pantomime, I guess you could say, and it has, for instance, a dame role in it. Now, inwardly, I think that'd be quite funny to do. It'd be a nice challenge, something a bit different. But I struggle, like in our small groups when we're writing it happily,
hmm
but the struggling to let go of what you should be and express yourself in that way is kind of a sticking point for me currently. And the biggest sticking point is the thought of standing in front of two or three people with a camera pointing at you and doing it.
yeah,
I feel like obviously if you've got a stage, you've got the reaction, you're in the moment.
hmm
So that is definitely the sticking point, and I do like that. The building yourself up, letting it go, just do it. Because
yeah. I mean, that's really at the end of the day what it's all about. You're there to do the work and just let it go, and then whatever happens after that is great. If it does, wonderful. If not, you still were able to do. You're doing what you love to do,
yeah,
and
absolutely.
it'll be much easier. At least give you peace of mind, if anything. You know, um, will you book every job? No. That's not a realistic thing. But will it keep your sanity? Absolutely,
Hmm.
and that's the most important thing.
And I suppose if you book every job, it loses its magic.
Well, yeah, because now you can just go in and say, okay, there's not gonna be much at stake anymore.
Yeah,
Like, okay, I know I'm gonna book it, so I'm just gonna kind of just have, not
yeah,
just
the
go in
passion's
there.
not there. So,
hmm
as an educator, you also use AI tools. Where do you see AI adding its most value, but also where do you find the pitfalls that people should avoid?
Well, the pitfalls, I will start with that, and it's depending too much on it. That's a pitfall. Expecting it to do everything. It's not. It's there to help or augment or amplify what you're doing,
Mm-hmm.
but it's not there to do it for you. You still have to put the work in. You still have to give it your own ideas. You
Mm-hmm.
still have to give it your own experience. Doesn't have that. Now it can certainly add to it. It can certainly enhance what you're doing and give you some great ideas and great talking points in addition to what you were already saying. Like, because even for me, I'm like, wow, I didn't think of that angle. Great, but I've already gave it like where I wanted to go and what I wanted to do.
Mm-hmm.
And so that's the important thing is to be able to use it as a partner, not as a replacement
Right. Okay.
for creativity, especially for creativity. Now, I like to kind of, even though they talk about art, AI stands for artificial intelligence,
Mm-hmm.
we know, but I like to even think of AI, and then I've heard somebody say this before, which is great, amplified intelligence.
All right. Okay. Yeah.
Yeah, so instead of it being artificial, amplified, because again, it can't replace that. Otherwise, because I see a lot of sometimes creators or content creators will just cut and paste what they
Mm.
get from ChatGPT or Claude or whatever large language model that they're using, and just now I'm ready to go, and I'm like, you could tell this is so robotic, like
Yeah, it doesn't have the human
you know,
feel.
there's no human feel to it. It's very cold and very technical, and so I think what's important is to be able to add your own voice into it. And then even like if for those of you that are, regular users, I'm sure you can train it to work in your voice,
Yes.
you know,
Yes.
to, and that's important. That's extremely important because again, it unless train it, it's not going to know your voice
Mm.
at all. And even so, even if when it does know your voice, it's still not. It's far from perfect.
Yeah.
You still have to tweak the content yourself.
I like that amplified intelligence. It's definitely a nicer way to look at it. So, as a talent agent, you have guided talent across Broadway, film, and TV. And I suppose this is a
Hmm.
triple barrel question for you. So, we'll start with the first. What is the biggest myth about making it
The overnight success,
overnight success? Okay.
the big break that's just going to happen. You're just going to be sitting in a park one day, and you're going to run into Steven Spielberg or somebody like that, and
Yeah.
automatically do that. And I think even a myth of having an agent, because if you see shows like remember shows like Entourage,
No, yeah.
people think, okay, I'm going to pick up the phone and I have like Steven Spielberg on Rolodex. That's not true. I wish.
Yeah, it would
Or
be
that I'm
nice.
going to just call, or I just call up the phone and say, get my client in for this.
Mhm.
Now, it does help to pitch. It does help to be proactive, but that's not how agents work. I just can't snap my fingers and you're on set
No,
tomorrow
no.
of this big project. That's not going to happen. But it takes a lot of hard work and determination.
Yeah, no, I remember when Daniel Craig landed James Bond and everyone said he was a new face and it was an overnight transformation. But he'd been doing hundreds of movies. Well, maybe not hundreds,
Yeah,
done loads before.
and probably years and years as
Yeah.
uh, doing these little stage productions, these little films
Hmm.
that no one might never see, but yet, it was really the James that's what got him notoriety.
Yeah.
There's a difference between, that and your big, your first role.
So next, what's the biggest sort of industry myth about? Because everyone has this idea of what the industry is and when you come into it. So what's the big myth that once you're there, it's not really what people think?
I would say, the somewhat of the glitz and glamour, and people think, okay, we're going to be
Mm.
at parties all day long. That's not true. I think I go to one or two parties a year, to be honest with you.
Okay.
It's not like that. Also, I think one thing I'd like to dispel a myth of is ageism. I see a lot
Okay.
where, oh, it's impossible if you're an older actor trying to break in. That's not true.
Yeah. No.
Now, yes, may have to work a slightly bit harder, but I've seen people go, have successful careers, and they might have started when they're 50s and 60s.
Hmm.
It's really about just having the confidence, the talent, and the training, and just being at the right place in the right time. But I would say the biggest thing is this: it's slow. It's a slow burn process,
Yeah.
and if you have notions of that it's going to be fast, that's not
Yeah. So it's definitely
realistic.
slower and a lot less glitz and glamour. So the last of the triple barrel for you here is from guiding talent across Broadway, film, and TV. What is it like? Suppose a day in the life or a week in the life of a talent agent.
So we get up, usually, we need to be up fairly early,
Mm-hmm.
depending on what time zone you're in, but at least 9 or 10 a.m. we have to kind of be ready to go. Um, the thing about being a talent agent or really working in show business is that there's no 9 to 5.
Right. Okay.
Um, you could be needed to kind of be on call at any time because an offer. I've had offers and deals come in at Friday night at 10 p.m. I've had, even on the weekends, I would have sometimes offers coming in or auditions coming in. So I think just, being on call is a big thing. Perseverance is so important just for actors, but also for agents too, because
Mm.
it's not that easy where we can pick up the phone and automatically get our people in there.
Yeah.
I wish, but it's not. So the idea is if to really be focused and really um, have the patience, because there's a lot of patience that's going to be required here.
No, I can imagine.
And then of course, spend a lot of our days interacting with the clients we work with.
So, looking across everything you've done, from teaching to coaching, talent representation, what do you hope your lasting impact will be?
Make a difference on others, like help people, um, remove any self-imposed blocks, limitations, and really, discover their true essence.
And what's one piece of advice for a creative listening right now? What would you say to them?
You are enough, and take action. Start, doing stuff today for your career.
Awesome. So, lastly, to round this out, everyone I interview leaves an anonymous message for the next person. My last wanted to pass on that you should do something every day that scares the shit out of you. And life is so much easier if you spend your day just being nice.
That's actually almost about to steal my thunder on that one, because I was about to say do something, step outside your comfort zone. But I will say this too: watch the tribe you hang out with.
Okay.
Meaning your personal network is so
Yes.
important. So, are you hanging out? Are you surrounding yourself with people that celebrate you rather than tolerate you?
No, I like that. And definitely, yeah, the people around you definitely makes a massive difference. Again, especially
Hmm.
in the industry that you're in, I suppose I can
Oh,
imagine.
100%. We need supportive people that are going to only elevate us.
Hmm. Thank you so much for this. It's been brilliant. It's definitely opened my eyes a lot to the industry and what it's like and what it's like in your position.
Hmm.
Um, Anything you would like
Thank
to
you.
plug? Anything you'd like to advertise?
Well, I would definitely, check out my book, Rise Above the Script. It's on Amazon.
Hmm.
And secondly, I'll also highly encourage you to go to my website, albertbramante.com. I have a lot of meditative and hypnosis recordings and audios on there for everything and anything. I would highly encourage you to check those out. You can download them and listen to unlimited times.
Amazing. I will definitely be checking those out.
Thank you.
Thank you so
Well,
much.
thank you.
Thanks.
All right. Have a great rest of your day.